Hey everybody, welcome to the Fancy Werewolf Lounge. And in the words of two of the best, greatest rock stars of all time, God gave rock and roll to you, God gave rock and roll to you, God gave rock and roll to everyone. Hi everybody, I'm Josh Pfizer, and obviously I have Bill and Ted on the mind. And I am here with my other hosts.
Hey guys, it's me, Liberty Bell. What's up?
Hello, Mean. Thanks for being here, everybody.
How you guys doing?
Good, man. How about you?
Yeah, doing okay. What are y'all drinking? We haven't done that in a while.
I am drinking a Game of Thrones themed scotch.
Wait, well, okay.
I've never even seen the show, so don't ask.
I knew they were doing like wine and beer and stuff. I didn't know they were doing scotch. Wow.
Yeah, it's a single malt Highland scotch, and I don't know whatever company makes it. I can't even pronounce the name. Teamed up with Game of Thrones, I guess. I don't know.
All right, Aloe.
I got a White Claw.
Okay.
Which flavor?
Mango.
I
lied. Tangerine. It's tangerine.
It's tangerine.
Not that it matters.
I thought you said you like tangerine. Like you're like, oh yeah, this mango's fine, but
then you're just naming stuff that you like.
I like tangerine.
I like Bill Marley. Okay.
It's Bill Marley.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Is that Bob's brother?
Yeah, it's Bob Marley's
third cousin.
He's not a musician. He sells used cars. That's and today we have with us special guest, business owner, musician, art. I don't know anything else to say at the prefaces, but Mr. Dave Deibler. God damn it, I'm getting nobody's name right today.
Bill Marley.
Hey,
Deibler. Hey, how's everybody doing?
That was like probably the worst introduction ever, but we'll forgive Josh for it. He can do a retake.
Yeah, I'll edit this out, but it's good on the video.
Dan Deibler.
It's gonna be super choppy. I'm gonna be wearing another shirt. Dave, how are you doing?
Wearing another shirt. That's a great shirt.
Yes. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm good. Beautiful day.
It is. It's somebody's outside my window blasting from his Bluetooth speaker, but
so you live right behind the library?
Yeah, it lives right next to the laundromat and like a quadplex.
Yeah, it's like a quadplex.
One of those houses converted, you know.
Yeah. I don't think we can you say something else, Dave?
No, I was just.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were.
I was just trying to tell the entire universe where you live, I guess.
Yeah, it was just like.
And also, I have the key to his apartment, as everybody already knows.
God damn it!
If you wanna get into
all right, everybody,
Josh's place,
everybody,
I got you.
Don't come to my house, and especially don't get in contact with Liberty to get a key to my house. Okay, I'm just gonna let's go ahead with that. So, Dave, we usually ask our guests, at the beginning, two different questions. One, how are you staying physically, emotionally? Just a second.
And mentally well. During the
Thank
pandemic.
you, Liberty.
Yeah, how am I keeping my shit together? Well,
how are you holding it together?
It's probably out of my family. I'm doing the worst job. It's been. I think I have it relatively easy. I get, I own a couple businesses, so I could always get out of the house. You know what I mean? But just going through the same stuff everybody else is going through, and I guess I've kind of reached my saturation level on freaking out or worrying because I can't go any higher. And it's like, it does help that everybody else is kind of going through the same thing.
Right.
I talk to other business owners, and my two businesses are doing relatively well, so I'm thankful for that. But just, I guess my outlook, I'm looking a shorter amount ahead than I've ever looked. Let's just keep it together for the next week. Let's,
right.
What's a month? What the fuck? What or next year? No idea. So just trying to keep my eyes right in front of where I'm walking and trying to treat other people nicely. And like I said, sometimes failing, but just trying to, not go out of the bounds too much, just, and also not expecting too much from myself or anybody else, because
Yeah, I feel like I've done that too, like just lowered my expectations of myself in some ways. Like whatever you can do today to be productive,
yeah,
congrats, pat yourself on the back for the little things.
yeah, and okay, doing nothing today is okay.
Right.
Just keeping it going. And, I am looking at getting back to some form of normal, I guess maybe May
Right.
next
Well,
year.
yeah, well, the whole concept of normal is going to absolutely change after this. Like, so it's just hard to envision what that's going to look like once things, I don't even want to say calm down, but like solidify, I guess, if is probably the word I would use.
Yeah, I think that human beings are resilient. And I think after the vaccine, some things will get back to normal pretty fast, especially if you're 26, 27 years old. That age is pretty extra resilient. If you're 70 right now, I'm not sure you'll ever go back to what was a normal thing. So I'm 57, so I'm not quite there yet. But for young people, I mean, for instance, I was reading an article in the Times about movies and how they're just, the movie theaters are just hurting tremendously. Nobody's going back. And they pulled a lot of movies from even showing. So I wonder if we're going to see more movies just come right to your house.
Yeah.
For it or what? I don't know.
Well, I think
I
that's
feel like it
what
was
they're
kind of going that way anyway.
they're like
And before
on
all this,
Netflix,
slowly.
they'll charge you for like new releases and stuff like that. They came out with a new Mulan movie on Disney Plus, and they want $18 for it. So
is it 18
they're
now?
just gonna.
I thought it was
do it that way.
30.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it's $17.99 now. I don't know.
All right. I heard 30. The thing
But
is,
yeah, I think that's how most of their.
Yeah, most VOD.
That's how I feel like most of the movies will be released now.
Yeah, and like Aloe said, it was kind of going that way anyway. At least with a lot of smaller releases. I'm sure because like a lot of big stuff like Black Widow from Marvel and the Fast and the Furious, those are still like they're not taking any of the chances. I know Tenet kind of tanked because they decided to put it in theaters, and I think it's just now making its money back, which is not especially looking at Christopher Nolan's track record of box office success. That's really not a good thing for, so. But yeah, you know what, that kind of leads into the second question we asked the guests, which is, what media have you been consuming during all of this? Or I guess, Dave, in your case, which underground Bob Dylan recording have you been listening to on repeat?
Contrary to my social media, I don't live in that world. But I mean, honestly, our main family thing has been movies, and for the first 2 months, we watched a movie every night. Just as a place to meet and hang out. And my son's 14 and going to school virtually, so just screens are ruling our lives. But I mean, for relaxation, listening to records. I have a dog. It's very simple shit. Going on a dog walk is like the highlight of my day. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
we went out to eat at Basil Pizza, and that was one of the first times we've been out in a long time. And that was like going on a vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really weird. It's just like all takeout. If you want to eat at a restaurant, it's just kind of bizarre. I just don't see doing it. Like going in there and sitting and.
It's tough. I mean, personally, my back's up against a wall. If I close my bar, and I know from talking to other owners, if we close right now, we probably won't reopen.
Right. Yeah.
To do things that we're very uncomfortable with, and just trying to make the best of it. And that's a form of stress too that nobody wants. I don't think of it, but I work in hospitality. I think of it as I own a bar, but it's really hospitality, and none of us in the industry want to hurt anybody. That's the exact opposite of why we got in the business, you know? So it's a strange place to be, but we're at a point right now because, I mean, I don't know if you can say that our government's failed us, but, you know, hindsight's always clear, and I don't want to be one of those people, but I just wish we had stayed locked down a little longer. And I wish that
Yeah, me too.
nationwide mask mandate, and it's just so bizarre to those of us who are caught in the middle that we just couldn't do those small things, you know?
Yeah, it is definitely incredibly clear now.
Well, and then even the Iowa leaders. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was just going to say it's incredibly
Go ahead.
clear now that that this whole thing would have, I wouldn't say blown over, but it definitely wouldn't be to the point that it is now if maybe another month and a half of lockdown was involved, if there was a better response early to try to keep people from needing to go back to work when they don't have to. But Liberty, you're going to say?
Well, even when we were locked down, people weren't following any of the advice anyways. So, I mean, it's just almost unfathomable how irresponsible a lot of people have been. And, I mean, you know, nobody's perfect. I think it's just obviously very mentally trying for anybody to just not be around other humans. Like, we're very, generally speaking, socially inclined, you know?
Yeah, we really needed some leadership and we didn't get it. You know, I mean, you could do a 4-hour podcast on this, so I don't know how far down that rabbit hole we want to go, but
I think we've been like discussing it ever since we started this podcast, but I just feel like, you know, we keep discussing it because it feels like there's a new level in which we are, you know, in it, you know, because we're in this phase now where we are trying to rebuild the society that we had before in any way we can.
Yeah, I think it mostly all comes down to what you're saying is leadership. Hopefully that's what changes, is people view leadership as something that's not just a popularity contest, whether I would like to have a beer with this guy, someone who's actually gonna, you know what I mean, do what's right in shitty situations. Because shitty situations, I mean, COVID's not that bad. There's way worse things that could happen as far as diseases and shit like that. And if you have someone in this position of power who's not really for, you know, righteous things, they're just there really just for themselves to fucking be in that position of power, then
You mean because they like winning?
yeah, pretty much. And it's all about, you know, their own thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would not at all put it past 4 more years of Trump. So
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
buckle in, buttercups.
Oh, boy.
That would not surprise me.
going there. I'm not going there.
I don't want to go there, but it's almost like you have to mentally prepare yourself for the worst case scenario. Like I just said the other day, I feel like we're playing the worst case scenario game, except for it's real life. And like, I don't even want to fucking play board games anymore. Like, you know what I mean? And that's something I've always loved. I don't even want to play a board game anymore. Someone was like, you want to play Scrabble? And I was just like, no, I fucking don't. Like, that's how, I don't know. Things have been really rough for me lately, I guess. And that's one of the things I'm like, damn, you don't even want to play board games anymore? That's fucked up. Like, I like winning almost as much as Trump, so.
I played Giant Jenga with you. This is true.
Yes, and I was great at it, of course.
I hold my own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, well, let's get into, I guess, getting to know you a little better. I think people in the Cedar Valley know you as the proprietor of the Octopus Bar, and also the we say it's like a novelty clothing store, Mohair Pear.
I would say a boutique.
Boutique,
Yeah.
yeah, that's better.
You And yeah, I mean, it's hard to fathom, but Mohair Pear's been going since '95.
Has it now? I didn't know
Absolutely.
how long that's been around, but wow, that's
Yeah, so we have grandkids, literally, of customers that come in. You know, sometimes to get
Yeah.
grandma's bringing the kid in to get her navel pierced. So
the grandma's getting the navel pierced.
I
She did the first time at Mohair Pear.
yes, I think at this point we've actually pierced more piercings than people that live in the Cedar Valley.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I think I was pierced there like, I don't know, at least 7 or 8 times myself.
But I think there's another faction of people who know you as a musician. Do you want to talk about where that all started with you? Like, what's your, because your band, House of Large Sizes, really well known in the area. How did we usually ask people, because we usually have comedians, where's your comedy journey start? Where's your music journey start?
I mean, it probably starts here in Cedar Falls. I'm from Cedar Falls, so and like any good high school kid in the '70s or whenever, I wanted to get the hell out as soon as possible. And so I went up to Minneapolis and then over to Lincoln, Nebraska, just kind of trying to check out scenes and hook up with other musicians, and was spectacularly not successful. You know, I learned basically what I did not want to do with my life, you know, and I did not want to work 70 or 80 hours a week at a job I did not care about. So my parents said I should come back and go to school. And I got into UNI on academic probation, you know, like for 12 hours. I mean, literally back then, anybody could go. It was $800 for a semester.
Oh, wow.
Jesus Christ.
That's crazy.
So I went there.
Wow. Okay. I'm sorry, Dave. We're getting into this millennial a piece of dissidence like right now, and just like hating right now. Like, it's usually boomers, but right now you're Gen X. So like you, Kurt Cobain, Denzel. I don't know. I'm just thinking of.
No, I mean, actually, this is a subject that comes up at the bar, and it's I don't know how we want to get at it within the timeline, but my band and a lot of doors closed in the music entertainment business around 2001, 2002. That's when it just became really difficult to make money. So my band, House of Large Sizes, we started in '86, playing like at Dean's Parkade Lounge and Stebb's, which came along a little later. And we did that for a living for about 15 years and lived pretty well, you know, but we were kind of the last generation of rock bands, and maybe larger than that you could really make any money, you know. I mean, and we weren't rich, but you know, we had health insurance, we had a van, we had a job, and we didn't have to have a second job to maintain that. So I think some of your anger is very well placed, and it's not, you know, I personally didn't have anything to do with it that I'm aware of.
No.
But it is, I talk to younger people, and I get concerned about how few people talk about buying a house, or how few people talk about starting a business. And, you know, the opportunity I had to do it slowly and with not a lot of money is something that every generation should have. And I hope that it's still out there, because I know from my sense right now, it may be at kind of a low with the pandemic and everything. But I also know when this is over, this is, and I don't know how much we want to talk about this right now, but there is going to be some amazing opportunities created by this. And hopefully it won't be all consolidation of, you know, a bunch of venues are going to go out of business, and somebody like Live Nation is going to come in and buy them all up. So it's frustrating. And that's absolutely what's going to happen. There's no way around it, you know? So let's hope that there's the other side of the coin, that there's something positive that's going to come out of it.
Right. Well, we'll try to come back to that, because that's an interesting thing that you're bringing up. But how did did you form House of Large Sizes in Minneapolis, or was you just Cedar Falls when you came back?
Yeah. So, and I honestly went to college to try to get a band together, and just desperate for me to do something, you know. And they were right. I mean, they were absolutely 100% right. But so I came back and I met Barb, who's my wife, and then ended up being our bass player. And then I met a guy named Dave Berg in one of my math classes, who ended up being a really great drummer who just had no idea about rock. So he was playing pretty hard rock, and he didn't really have an idea about it, which resulted in it being kind of unique. And he was a very gifted musician, and so just kind of got lucky. And then I'd been working on writing songs since junior high, and so I was looking for somewhere to put those songs.
Oh, great.
So when you first started House of Large Sizes, were you and Barb together yet, like as a couple, or?
Yep, we'd been going.
That evolved. Oh, you were going out before.
We got married in '90, and House started in '86. So I think probably we're going out for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So about a year before the band. But I had read a quote from a guy I'm a big fan of. His name's Paul Westerberg from The Replacements. And he said that if you're forming a band, one of the people should be chosen because they're your friend, not because they're a musician. And I think Barb's is the other part of the equation that made us unique. She, took to playing bass, in weeks, and definitely got better. But I mean, and like anything else, if you play a lot, you get better. But I mean,
Right.
playing shows right away, and we were playing a lot of shows, and then within a year of that, touring around the country and stuff. So we just got very fortunate. By we, I mean me.
Well, good. So, and this is something I'm interested in. As someone who grew up not in Cedar Falls and kind of learning about the town, it sounds like there's been a pretty great music scene here for a while. You want to talk? Can you tell us about your experience with that?
I mean, it's a little bit like a fairy tale, because a guy goes to Minneapolis, tries to get involved in the scene. Minneapolis is a very big city, and the scene is deep and very cliquey, like all scenes.
Mm-hmm.
They're not
Right.
Deibler from Cedar Falls, Iowa, and you can break into it, but I didn't have the skills. It was just, and the music scene was just taking off there, and I wasn't going to be a part of it.
Yeah, because if I'm thinking about the timeline right, it would have been like the early '80s, and that's around the time famously Prince was becoming huge.
It was a wonderful time to be there. I saw so many freaking great shows. I mean, just The Replacements being probably my favorite and being a huge inspiration. And then moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, and there was a scene there too, but I was working so much I couldn't really be involved in it. And then strangely, I come back to my home where I didn't want to come back, and there's a great scene there. It's small, but it wasn't really Cedar Falls; it was Iowa. There's not enough people really, so there was Iowa City had punk rock was in full flight, so bands like Stiff Legged Sheep, band out of Des Moines called the Hollowmen. Here in town would have been the Dreadnecks, a friend of mine named Paul Stannard. And just, they were putting on shows, and bands from all over the country were playing here, which is the perfect opportunity for any artist to keep rubbing shoulders with these people from not just your town and learning, how to do it. And so I just came back, and this was in full flight, and it was just the perfect timing. And then if you go forward a little bit, Nirvana, which House of Large Sizes was together 2 years before Nirvana, but Nirvana lit a fire. Anything with guitar, bass, and drums was getting attention and getting signed. And we definitely benefited from that, like in '94, and did a record with Columbia Records. Wow. And toured even more, too much. But so, we've just been fortunate with some timing. And then we kind of stopped playing full time in like 2002 or so, I think.
Because you mentioned before, around that time you started not to be able to really make a living in music. Obviously when you say that time period, you go to 9/11, but can you pinpoint what exactly it was at that time that's why that happened?
No, I can't. Somebody's going to have to write a book on it or do a master's thesis.
Wow.
Definitely digital files, music.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
To digital. The music industry had no idea what they had in their hands. They had no freaking idea what they were dealing with. They didn't have any vision. that something like Napster was going to come along, and once that cat was out of the bag, you are never putting it back in. And we are never,
Oh yeah.
this day, musicians are still, book sales are still pretty steady, and movies up till the pandemic were pretty steady. But musicians just, stuff like Spotify is just legalized robbery, and every musician rolls their eyes when they hear the word exposure. Oh, this will be great. Millions of people will hear you, but you're getting paid literally 5 cents for that, and it's frustrating. So the answer to your question, Joshua, is it's a complicated one, and I wish somebody would spend the time and really kind of look at the week by week timeline of that period, because it's fascinating, but it's also frustrating.
Right. And like, I don't even know why I didn't think about that, Napster and stuff like that. Like that obviously had a huge impact on the music industry. And kind of how we consume media now. I mean, I can't imagine, like me personally, I can't imagine a world where you don't have physical media in your hand at any moment in your, like, you can watch a movie in your home. And my parents didn't have that. VCR was like $1,000, and now kids, there'll be a generation that can't believe that there was like physical copies of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's, for instance, I use Photoshop a lot when I'm running the bar to make posters.
Right.
3 years ago, I bought it. 5 years ago, whatever. Now I subscribe to it.
Yeah.
Right.
125% more than I was paying. Granted, I get updates automatically, and I can't lose anything, and I can use it on any device. But I don't have any choice, and I'm paying a lot more for the product. And that's, I think, where you're headed with lack of ownership. Like giving somebody, a copy to own is kind of like the people who make it are like, oh, we got to stop that.
Yeah.
Unless you do it all yourself, which is really harder to do in digital if you don't, come from that background.
It's extremely difficult. I mean, there's a product called, what is it, GIMP? Which is
Yep.
kind of a rip. You could do that. I learned on Photoshop, so I am too old and crabby right now to go back and Photoshop is learning curve sucks. It's hard. So to go back now, they've got me. I'm not going anywhere. But I do think we do a podcast at the bar called Octopus Radio, and one of the subjects that comes up a lot is just how important music is to everybody, but nobody wants to pay anything for it. You got to
Right.
twist an arm to pay $5 to see 3 bands. It's just,
Well, I think that's crazy to me because, of course, I love live music, so I'm going to go pay whatever it is to see them. It's just important to me. But like, I also subscribe to iTunes Unlimited, and I pay $10 a month for it. And I literally anything that anyone wants to put into iTunes, I have it. There's no limitation to it. It's not like, oh, this person has a comedy album out. Well, they're selling it for $10 or $20 or whatever. I don't have to pay that $20. I pay Apple $10 a month, and I'm sure people don't get a penny of it, a penny. I mean, that's crazy to me.
I'm sure we're all guilty. I have Spotify.
Right.
Yeah. What's
But I mean, I still buy and support my friends' albums and things like that. Like I'll still buy them. But how many people would do that when they have it? They can have it for free with their monthly subscription.
Well, and speaking of which, by the way, I got last week's guest Dave Peace's DVD, and it's really good. If you get a chance, people go out and go to his Bandcamp and get that DVD.
Yeah,
It's
and he
really
has
good.
merch 20% off right now.
Yep. But Dave, let's go to the octopus, like because that has become a staple of College Hill. It's become a staple of the town. It's probably right now still like one of the best music venues in the area. How did that come about?
Right now, it's the only music venue in our area.
Sadly, that's kind of true. I think I'm going to try to make this short. The from being out and playing, you know, around the country, kind of take a mental note about, oh, I like this or I don't like that. Oh, this is what I'm going to do. Oh, I'm going to hire somebody like that. You know, and just mentally, the bar had been a pipe dream, and honestly, one I didn't ever think was probably going to be realized. But Barb, my wife, is very good at thinking farther ahead than I am. And so there'd be an auction at UNI, you know, 50 tables for $10. And she'd buy them. And I'd be like, why in the hell are we buying these tables? And I'm having to take them apart and store them. Well, they're in Octopus now, you know, and we paid nothing for them. So she was able to keep that. My thinking is much more fragmented. So as a team, that's how we work. And then I think the real stepping stone to it happening is we were able to buy that building. And so I was a landlord for a while. And then, you know.
Well, wasn't, I mean, originally Mohair Pear was in
Yeah.
the Octopus, right?
Not originally, but that would have been the third of 4 locations.
The third of 4. Okay, yeah. Well, because, you know, of course, I grew up, I literally can remember being in Mohair when I was, you know, 7 years old, you know.
Yeah.
And then you guys moved it to where it is now. What year was it that you guys moved it?
Well, it's I can't answer that one because it's exactly as old as my son, so it's almost 15 years. Because he would have been weeks old when we'd bought that. So, and
so then when you guys moved there, what first went into where the Octopus is now after Mohair moved out of it?
Then there was a Vietnamese place called IPA.
Yeah, that was really immediately after?
Yeah.
So how long was it IPA? I mean, you know, I worked there late night at IPA, so.
I think about 5 years, and then honestly, I kicked him out, and they moved over to.
Yeah, over to Mojo's. Well, the other side of Mojo's.
Down. And you know, I knew Richard as a friend, and I still to this day, Owen and I talk. My son loved eating there.
Have you talked to him? I want to get in contact with him. I have no idea where he is.
I haven't seen him since the day I was coming in to do janitorial at the bar, and the restaurant was on fire.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, that's right. What it was IPA that was.
Well, Great Wall went up in flames, and then Great Wall caught fire to the roof of Mojo's, and then Mojo's roof collapsed, and there was just like a lot of damage. So
It wasn't Mojo's at the time. It was that kind of Irish place, right? What was it called?
No, it was Mojo's. It was Mojo's, and IPA was right next to it.
And
But a funny story about that, Dave. So when I first started working for Richard, like the very first night, I show up at like 10:30, and I'm supposed to work till 3 in the morning or whatever after bar close, and we're serving $5 meals to drunk kids, you know. And as soon as I get done, or as soon as we get done working, Richard goes into the back room and brings out a dirty 30 of warm PBR. And he said, "Okay, good work. Now we drink." And at the time, I was 21, but I didn't even drink, you know. But I was like, God, I better drink some of this beer, or I'm not going to have a job here, you know. So I drank a warm PBR with him, and I told him, you know, I don't drink or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And he said, "Okay, you come back tomorrow." And I think I worked there for, 2 years. And honestly, I learned so much from him about Vietnamese style cooking, and I literally use so many techniques that he taught me in real life all the time. And I just think about him so fondly because when I would get into work, he would always be cooking something that was not on the menu for us to eat. And he's like, we eat before we work. And that was just kind of the person he was. And so cool. I guess I didn't realize that he immediately went in there.
I know he has.
Well, how long has the Octopus been open now?
2012. So our birthday, which we had planned a big blowout, would have been August 16th. Be our 8th year.
Oh yeah.
But we didn't do that.
Yeah, trust me, I turned 30 this year. There was no birthday party,
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're going to have to save a blowout for year 10. But won't you? Because you're somebody who has their finger on the pulse very closely to what's going on in the area and artists. And by the way, I think like we talk about this a lot, but as comedians, the Octopus has been one of our favorite places to perform.
Love
So
it.
thank
Yeah,
you
we love it.
for
It's
letting
amazing.
us be able to do that. And Alex runs a great show there. So
Yeah, I hope we can, I've been in touch with Alex, and we've talked about how we can make it happen. One thing is having a fresh mic for every comedian,
mhm.
stuff like that. I still think we're a little ways away from doing anything right now. But one of the great parts about owning a bar is that you get to interact in all the different social circles, that you maybe wouldn't be involved with. So the bands and the comedy, and then stuff like Pint with a Prof or even trivia. It's a real privilege to get to know people in all those different areas, because I think a lot of people live in a town their whole lives and don't have that way to do that. So I really value that.
Yeah, definitely brings a sense of community and I think brings a very diverse kind of crowd to your establishment. But we we actually had a discussion the other night at the bar about the Hill and kind of how it like each bar has its own personality.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Should we do a rundown? No, I'm just kidding.
Do that on the next, not on.
Yeah, I don't want to alienate a bunch of people. But it kind of is too, like, even though the Octopus is on College Hill, like on the hill, it really is kind of, it's more of just a neighborhood bar. It's more of a towny bar than a lot of the other ones. Of course, you still get students in there and stuff, but everybody I know goes there.
I think you're right, Liberty. Our vision was, and it seems stranger now. Maybe we were a little closed in our own circle, but we totally wanted it to be a neighborhood bar and something that students are an important part of, but not to rely 100% on them, and not to,
Right.
to rely on Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays, being crazy busy, wanting to just have a more regular flow, which is something that's ended up being super helpful. Like now, we don't have, they don't come at 10 and pile out in front of the bar, so I don't have to deal with that. But we just wanted and there again, we wanted to build something that we had seen on the road, that other, you have retired professors in the afternoon, you have, just different people who feel comfortable there. I do think for a lot of the people coming to Octopus, the first draw is kind of the music vibe, that we play records, and that's kind of the hook that gets the fish. And then if they like it, they stay. And if not, they obviously don't. But music is still kind of the underlying theme there, and I think we're the only bar in town that doesn't let the customers pick any music, which I just kind of just thought to myself,
Thank God. Well, that was one thing I was going to bring up too when we
Respect
were
that.
talking about, rights and stuff. Like, you have to pay so much money to be a venue. And then even like with having a jukebox, it's the same sort of thing. Like, you have to pay royalties to have a jukebox or whatever.
Yeah, you have to license the music with ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC.
Right.
For a venue our size, that's just shy of $6,000 for all three of those per year. And so,
Just to have bands come
Holy
perform
shit.
there. And that's without ever paying the musicians,
yeah, it's not even really about the bands. It's about playing copyrighted records and CDs and files.
Holy shit, I had no idea about that.
ASCAP doesn't really care about twins.
Right.
I do, but they don't really care as much. So the music is primarily, and there's some truth to it. And I support the idea that music is very valuable. If you were to go into Octopus with no music playing, it'd be super strange. It'd be kind of, depressing.
Mhm.
But so a lot of bars have jukeboxes so that they're paying that fee or trying to pay it with customers, money. And I get it.
Yeah.
I remember that was the first. I lived by Iowa City, and I probably missed 2 or 3 the whole time since I started comedy, going up to Octopus, just because it's one of my favorite. It's like what I would do is work jokes at other bars, and that Octopus, because it's once a month, it was special. I would go up there and probably get like a couple extra minutes because Alex was real cool with me, and just because I traveled, and that was my favorite thing. When I first walked in there, I saw the records, and I was like, "Oh shit, I fucks with this."
Well,
That was the
thing
first
that's
thing
so
that got me.
special about Octopus Comedy, like even though it's an open mic, literally anyone can come and get on. You get more time there than at any other open mic in the state, and I've never been to an open mic that has an audience like the Octopus. Like people are there. I've been at open mics at the Octopus where it's literally packed. There's like 60 people in there wanting to hear live comedy. Like that does not happen at open mics. It happens at showcases.
Especially bar open mics. Yeah.
It happens at ticketed shows, but like genuinely the people of the Cedar Valley love and appreciate stand-up comedy and want to be a part of it and support, and it's freaking cool because literally there's nowhere else I've been that's like that. Like it is literally that special. And when you step onto that stage, it's not like an open mic. It's like this is a show. We're doing a show. We're not micing. It's just really truly it is special.
That's how I took it.
Well, like what I talked earlier about it being a privilege to interact in the separate communities and working with all of you, and especially Alex, the way he organized it, and I'm very aware of how small Octopus is, but I'm still going to put a black curtain up on there, and I'm still going to spend a few bucks on lights. And, we have one of the better PAs for the size of the room anywhere.
Yes.
So you want to balance that. And I kind of got burned booking some bands that were really too big for the room. But you just got to be really aware of who you we talked about the personality of a bar. You got to be aware of that, and you got to know your limitations. And something like the comedy night is a perfect fit. It's just, and any event we do, I take seriously enough. I mean, I talked about how I took some of the things I liked about being on the road and tried to bring them back here. One of the things I effing hate is that you would go to a club and the staff would instantly have a pretty negative reaction to you if you were playing there. And it's common. It's pretty common. And it's just to the early staff, it's just a pain in the ass. But at Octopus, that's not going to happen. We invited you here. We're going to try to pay you money. We like you, whether it be comedians. Right. And that's one of the huge things that people, bands have come and have told me, that especially if you're not making much money, that you can at least be treated well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird that they would do that. I mean, it's weird, seems counterintuitive, counterproductive.
I honestly do not get it. Why you would subject yourself to doing something you just loathe. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's really part of it. You should, if you want these people to return, treat them kindly. If I have a lot of fun at a show and I feel like I just have a good time and I'm treated well there, even if they didn't pay me diddly, I would probably go back and do the show again. For us, for people who are artists or, creating or producing content, we want to perform, it's one of our passions and something that brings joy to our life. So yeah, if I go somewhere and they treat me like dog shit, they try and rebook me, I probably wouldn't do it if they weren't, paying me really well. But if I go to a show and they treat me really well and they don't pay me shit, I'll go back every time,
I agree 100%. I think there's something about a town the size of Cedar Falls that we should try to hold on to. When you're in Chicago or Minneapolis, it toughens you up. There's people panhandling, there's homeless people on the streets. And I've been on tour enough to know how to behave. I got to put on my San Francisco attitude, or especially if you're out east where everybody's yelling at you all the time. We don't really have that yet. And
yet?
Like I said, yeah.
eventually. But I mean, even in Des Moines, you're going to get some, a little more of a street city experience. And we still say hi to strangers, and we drink pop, and we're very sweet, and you kind of want to toughen up. But I hope Cedar Falls never gets to the point where, and it boils down to like, we're happy you're here. Thanks for coming. And being polite is not something that makes you weak.
Yeah, I've never been anywhere else in the world that's like here. Literally, once I was like walking down a set of stairs while someone else was walking up the other way, and it was like a really wide stairwell, and this guy like even like turned to the side as he was like walking up, like as if to be like, make sure that you're comfortable and have plenty of room and there's not like an ope moment where you bump into somebody. But I was just like, how can you literally be that courteous? Like, where else on the planet are people that courteous? That it's just kind of a beautiful thing about the local people here.
And let's not make any mistakes. There's plenty of assholes.
Amen.
There's plenty of assholes. I had to throw one out last night. And there's
Oh my!
there
Who was it? Do we know him?
He's not from here, thank gosh. So,
Dave, I walked out of my own volition. You didn't throw me out.
I will clarify that.
Right.
Does the niceness thing get annoying once in a while? Yeah, you kind of wish they drop that and tell you what they're really thinking. There is a strong passive aggressive thing that we all possess here.
Yep.
Just tell me how you're feeling. Let's just cut the chase. Let's just
Yeah, less bullshit, more real talk.
Yep. But okay, so Dave, I don't know. Like you've been around the block a few times. You were a touring musician. Any crazy stories you can tell us about either your time on the road or anything current or anything that happened at the Octopus that you feel okay?
For the most part, we're very fortunate that crazy stories are usually horrifically bad nights, right? You know what I mean? That's so in the horrific stories are when your van breaks down in Spokane and you're in the same dealership and in the same hotel room you were in 3 years ago. And it just pushes you to your core, you know what I mean? And it was a major engine problem. So, and you're there for like 7 or 8 days and you just, I can still feel that feeling inside me of just being trapped, But I mean, musically, you play festivals and stuff, and like we technically opened up for like the Black Eyed Peas, at a showcase in Austin.
What do you mean by technically?
Well, there was like 8 bands on the bill, so we were
okay.
the day. But I did, talk to the band. I'm sure none of those guys made it to the big payday, but I just remember them saying, "Oh, the name of the band was Black Eyed Peas," and I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting name," And they were there to get signed and stuff. And it was South by Southwest in Austin, which is a big.
What year was that?
Oh, maybe 92, 3. I do
Wow.
know Black Eyed Peas history. But, and other fun things happened. Like we were playing in Madison and the club owner's like, oh, there's this band that's recording in town and they would like to do a quick set before the show. And we were the headliners, so they would play like first out of 4, and it was the Smashing Pumpkins. And I knew Billy okay, he was a decent guy. But from playing with them, and then what happened, it was very interesting to see them. Were they an amazing live band? No, they were okay. But I've seen better bands than Octopus. I'm not saying they haven't put out some great records or anything, but just that kind of stuff where you're kind of my band did okay, but we never got that big break like that, And I have some opinions on why that is. It's just, I think House of Large Sizes probably went farther than it had any right to go. But
I don't know. You guys kicked ass. I mean, and like,
but
been thinking about it, like Green Day formed in the same year as you guys. Who's to say that you guys couldn't have done that? You couldn't have done what they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the important thing is you always got to remember that once you're playing for money, you're in showbiz. And
right.
is a very, very volatile business. And it breaks people left and right, and you got to be careful with your expectations because I was fortunate. I got to get enough of my yayas out to feel pretty satisfied, but it can really, it's the most unfair business in the world. It doesn't give a shit how hard you work. It doesn't, it just doesn't, there's so much luck involved in being in the right place at the right time, or, probably when you're watching a show, going to a concert, when we used to do that, the opening band probably paid thousands of dollars to, to be there, to open for Kiss or something like that. It's a business, and it's, you'd like to think that there's some that the band would be there because somebody liked them. And that reminds me that we opened for Cheap Trick 2 or 3 times, and Cheap Trick are sweethearts, and they're wonderful. And they go out of their way, probably still to this day, to find Midwestern bands and get them on their shows.
That's what's up. My first cassette tape ever was Cheap Trick.
Yeah. And they're the real deal.
Oh yeah.
And we opened up for them like at First Avenue in Minneapolis. One of the highlights of my life. So much.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what shows or were the most impactful or memorable or best shows of your life?
I would say that one. We did a 3-week tour with Frank Black from the Pixies, who was one.
Hell yeah.
So to hang and get to be kind of friendly with Charles is his name. Was just a thrill, and he's not a very friendly guy, but we kind of clicked, and to get to talk to him every day before sound check was a fucking blast, and say, okay, questions I'd wanted to ask, like, you're a band from the East Coast, why is there all this Spanish, in your songs? Well, he's from California, and the guy who taught him to play guitar was a Hispanic gentleman, and so he learned that. And then, so to me, it was like, oh, that makes sense. And learning that stuff is just fascinating to me. So, but those two shows come to mind.
And also, I am like curious about who your influences were musically that led into, your guys' sound.
I think if you look at the immediate, it was a wonderful time in the national punk rock music scene. I was never a punk. I was influenced by punk rock greatly, but there's a label called SST Records that was out of Lawndale, California, so Los Angeles, and bands like Husker Du and the Minutemen, and they were just doing stuff that was very alive and vibrant and of its time, and it just inspired me that I wanted to do something that reflected where I was from. At the same time, ZZ Top. They sang about where they were from. They sounded like they were from Texas. I wanted to sound like I was from Cedar Falls, Iowa. And when I said earlier that we went as far as we could marketing-wise, try to market that you're from Cedar Falls, Iowa.
Right. Hey, we all are. We literally all are.
Yeah. So, but that's why I try to put names of places in songs on occasion, because ZZ Top would do that, and I thought it was so cool. And
Right.
I was just thinking about this earlier. There really isn't. I wish there was more of a artistic trademark of Iowa. As it is, I don't really see it as much. If there's like something specific about Iowa or this region of the Midwest artistically.
I think you're right. And I mean, I just watched the movie Hype, which is about grunge in Seattle. None of those bands sound alike. It was a marketing thing to kind of get them all into one place, and the label being Sub Pop obviously being a big part of that. But there isn't really, what's grunge? I don't know what that is. But Iowa has such a small population base that we don't have enough momentum. In the rock world, there's only one band that's from Iowa, and that's Slipknot. And they are so much bigger than anything else. They are huge, and they're trying to paint. They painted the other side of the coin about Iowa life, where I was trying to paint a more positive picture about it. They're painting the other side where we're psychotic. We're psychotics because we're so bored. I identify with that a little bit. And I know some of the guys in Slipknot from playing in clubs in Des Moines. The Clown used to book a place there, Sean. Nice guy. But I'm just saying that marketing of Iowa is what people want, that kind of scary version.
Right. Well, I think that kind of parallels with the heavy metal scene in like Sweden, where it's a very like one of the weird things that in the late 70s, mid 80s, the youth was disenchanted with was the very good socialist programs and how it was actually really nice to live in Sweden. So like weirdly out of that's where their death metal scene came from.
Yeah, I mean, that's so you're saying that's what's going to happen if we have a basic universal income here?
Yeah. Metalheads get behind the UBI, get behind Medicare. Metalheads for metalheads for metal care.
I
Metal care.
boredom one of the strongest motivators of human beings just do not like to be bored, man. It brings out the worst in us, and I just watched, I think I've watched every movie now because of the last 4 months, but I watched a movie on the death metal scene, and one of the guys killed another guy.
Yeah, no. That's a very famous case. Yeah.
And even their jails are nice. They interviewed him in there, and it's like, fuck, man, it's pretty sweet, and he's in for murder, and it's like he's got nice blankets and a bed and his own private room. It's like shit, but
Yeah, I think I'd do really well in prison, personally.
Sweet.
Well, sweetest prison, we all would.
You can drop a comedy album from prison. You just have to get to like a federal joint. They have like billiard tables and fucking everything. I would love it. Free healthcare.
Liberty, let us know how that goes.
Well, yeah. We'll don't worry, Liberty. I'll expose all the white
just
collar
write me,
crime
Dave.
that you've
Just write me.
You've been doing.
Well, I think we stumbled on the thing here. The Iowa thing is metal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
My band had just rocked just hard enough. Like we always did very well in Cedar Rapids, which is Cedar Rapids and Des Moines, I would say, are kind of the metal capitals of. But every small town, smaller town like Mason City, metal never died. It's still alive, and that's really our national anthem of Iowa for younger music listeners.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. That sounds. And I'm not like really that into metal, so I can't like name off Iowa metal groups, but I do know like we do have a very big metal fan base, at least amongst my friends. I know a lot of metalheads, and the hypothesis that boredom breeds discontent really rings true to that.
It's the worst thing.
If another part of it is because I feel like metal is sometimes tries to come at politics. I wonder if the fact that politics every 4 years looks hard at Iowa, if that affects it, combined with the boredom, like you said, because you would kind of expect a place like Iowa, farmers and all this other shit to be something like country, but why isn't it like rockabilly music or country or something like that? Why is it metal? I wonder. And I love metal, so. But I never really thought about why.
I don't know.
Iowa.
Like, I guess I don't know personally. I don't know the origins or how it like came here, but I think that because, or when people started making it, it became really popular. I mean, like there used to be so many metal shows all over. Well, Cedar Falls, at the Black Hole, at the Boathouse. It was a lot of underground DIY shit. What was that place? Gallery that was downtown Waterloo. Do you remember
something or 222?
Yeah, 220
Oh, yeah,
or something. Like there were a lot
I did
of
a
places.
comedy show there once.
Yeah, there were a lot of places that were doing, well, with metal, it was, DIY and get fucked up and party in your friend's basement and rack the house to the ground. Like, I mean, there's something about it, and I feel like it's a lot of people that feel like they're misunderstood, and then they find each other and they bond over, music, and it's just a way to like get your aggression out, or emote when, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people have maybe parents who are, not, how do I say this, like, as emotionally involved or readily involved in their kids' lives and shit, especially like with farming. That job starts at sun up and goes way past sundown, and things like that. I just don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't know why it came here, but like it came here, and obviously people just love it because it's such a huge thing. Even if you're not into it, I'm sure you've been to some of the shows, just because it's almost like another thing where you just want to be involved in the community or whatever, see what the hell's going on. Kind of cool freaking party. Sometimes just let a little out, I guess. I don't know. But I love it, and I'm glad it's here.
It's definitely, it's definitely something you can belong to. Metal changes name.
Right.
It can be hardcore, it can be this, but it's metal.
Right.
I guarantee you, it's alive and well right now, more than most music.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's pissed.
There's plenty of country in Iowa, but it's not.
Yeah. I mean, William Elliott Whitmore, he's from Iowa. He's still pretty. I mean, a pretty big name out there, or whatever. But I don't know.
What makes me think about is, I remember when I was a kid and I asked my dad why TV, the news from down south, talk like us. We speak American. And
right.
I'm not saying I am invested in that or I think it's right. It just is. We kind of don't have an accent.
Yeah.
And there again, but I think I was paid a bit of a price. We're on that tough population. We don't have quite enough people to get, I was talking, one of my pipe dreams is I want to eventually do a business that's either a restaurant or a small cafe, either involved with octopus or a separate thing. So I have a friend, we talk about food a lot, and and I watch those cooking shows like maybe you do, like Barbecue, Chef's Table, and they'll be like, oh, I wanted to bring back the cooking I grew up with. Well, the cooking I grew up with sucked. What is Iowa food? What is our personality? What is our culture? I don't know. Casseroles?
Yeah. Like 50 different kinds of Jello molds.
Yeah. And
different shit thrown in each of them.
And that transfers over to other stuff that we don't kind of have a tradition. We kind of are national, invisible in a way. And it's, what is Iowa music? What is our food? What is, if you're from Mississippi or Florida, you probably have a very clear answer to that question.
Right.
West does not. And it's frustrating at sometimes. I think it's also an opportunity, but I don't know what the answer to those questions are exactly. Who are we? If I'll do a food thread on social media, inevitably somebody starts saying how great Casey's Pizza is.
I've been on this rant before.
Restaurant in Moline, it's like, come on.
Yeah, well, it's wild though too. Like at the same time, I think like when we're speaking about the essence of Iowa, like there are so many people. Everybody is unique. I think it is really a melting pot, and culturally, like there's so many different demographics of like people who have immigrated here and things like that. I think that's kind of special though, because like even in Waterloo, we have incredible, Latin or Hispanic Mexican restaurants. We have Bosnian cafes and stuff that are just mind blowing. And then, you have Basil Pizza with the pizza oven that came all the way over directly from Italy. And, there are and then Verve, the kombucha bar, like there's really unique things. I think like for me, I guess it's like we tend to focus on things that we grow ourselves, or like the farmers market is a staple in most people's lives. Like people don't, a lot of people have no idea where their food comes from. Like here, we at the state fair, there's a fucking cow made of butter. Like we do know what Iowa is. You know, in Iowa, there's 7 times more hogs than people. Like, we eat pork, you know, and people like to make sausages and things like that. And there is still a lot of the old tradition, you know, like Polish lockers and things like that, where they make specialty hand-curated meats and stuff. I think Anthony Bourdain actually visited Polasch's Locker in Protivin, Iowa, for like the blood sausage that they make, you know. So I don't know. It's just I guess it's like, if you're in the know, you know the spots to go and stuff like that. But then there are a lot of people who are just totally bland and I guess don't reach out into the culture that is available in Iowa. And I think that we can all do a better job of like highlighting it, I guess. It's like up to us to try and get people to want to come to Iowa as like a tourist, you know. It's kind of weird.
All the stuff you mentioned, not all of it, but I mean, where would we be without immigration?
Right.
You know,
nowhere.
Now with the pandemic, and this has come up a lot, and I did a talk to KWWL and the Courier not too long ago. Most everything you mentioned there is a very small business. And small business is where you're going to have the most diverse and most creative businesses, taking chances, trying new things. And every one of those is on the table right now, if they'll be here in 6 months or not. And the support we're going to have to show small business is just starting, and it's going to be scary what we're going to have to do. You know, the financial well-being of the restaurant is going to have to be on every customer's back. And it's a scary thing to think about, but there's just no, you know, the government, you know, we just got shut down for 3 weeks, and I don't know if most of you know it, but they're paying us $10,000, which is, you know, better than a stick in the eye. But for larger bars, that's going to go into the black hole in 2 seconds and be gone. For Octopus, it helps. And I don't know if there's much more of that money coming down the pike, but I encourage anybody who supports small business to start wrapping their head around what it's going to take, because we've never seen anything like it. I mean, there's just no way most of them will be there when we come out of this without some really super strong local effort.
Yeah, and I definitely believe, especially in this community, that we are more inclined to try to patronize smaller businesses, but I think we really need to try to focus our consuming towards them specifically. You know, if you're thinking about getting something off of Amazon or Walmart that you can get from a store run by locals, you should definitely do that instead. It might be a little bit more expensive, but I personally believe the benefit of having these small businesses in our community is outweighs all that. Except vape shops, which we have too many fucking vape shops. Just on College Street alone, there's
2 more coming in.
Yeah,
it's so crazy to me too. Like, I never even really see anybody vaping, and I'm just like, it's just mind blowing.
The market will decide eventually, because there's no way we can support. What is it now? 5?
Well, okay, just on College Street alone, and we'll just say, like, you know, places you can get bongs to. Like, we'll put that all together. There's you know, Dragon's Den, which has been right next to the comic book shop here for at least somewhere around a decade. We got Up and Smoke that opened up not too long ago, which is a pretty good place. And there's the vape shop near the barber shop, and then there's this one.
9 just opened.
It just opened.
It's not open, but the sign went up.
Yeah, we got that.
It's Buzz.
What's that?
It's called Buzz.
Oh, yes. And not to mention, like, the liquor store down here that also sells like pipes and stuff. So I don't know why they decided to why so many people decide this area, because I just can't see that as substantial.
Well, I think it's partially because of the pandemic. I think it's also because of a form of immigration where a lot of the people who are coming in now, who are buying property, are Indian or Pakistani, and that's traditional businesses they do. The same way the Bosnian community has traditional businesses they do. So you're kind of seeing another wave, and you're also seeing a bit of a vacuum where, I mean, would you want to open a business right now?
No.
I mean, I don't know. So maybe you're not seeing the regular demand. For a long time, the Hill had, for a couple of years running, nearly 100% occupancy. And obviously with the pandemic, you're seeing some little more spaces becoming available. So I think you're seeing that, but there's just no way the Hill can support that. I mean, I don't know much about that industry, but I'm you're not making that much with each sale, which is similar to a bar, so
Right.
each of them are going to have to do a pretty good volume.
Yeah. It's just it's I just wanted to really bitch about how there's just so many vape shops. I don't vape. I know people who do. It seems fine. I guess it's better for smokers, even though I don't know if the science is in on vaping.
Well, we talked about we're all going to have to sacrifice, Josh. So let's just take a pledge now that we'll all start vaping.
All right. I'll do.
Damn, do I have to smoke cigarettes and vape at the same time?
Hopeful.
Or do I have to quit the cigarettes and start vaping?
I mean,
Because I don't know if I can agree to that.
Jesus Christ.
Free country,
I mean,
allegedly.
life sucks. I'm going to smoke cigarettes.
That's a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt we should have. And on that note, I just want to say real quickly that just a little plug for ourselves. We now have a merch store. You can go to now teespring.com/stores/fancy werewolf lounge, and you can get right now we just have the classic logo. We have shirts, cell phone cases, coffee mugs, masks, so stickers. So just gonna put that out there. Please, if you can buy a shirt. I made sure it's a very good price for these things, and honestly, I think the logo looks good on these. Right? Yeah. So yeah. Enough of that commercial. Dave, well, we should be wrapping up soon. Why don't you? Is there anything else you want to discuss? Just in general about your experience or what you would like to see, what you think would be good for the community in the next months for everybody to try to do.
Yeah, and what we can do to help.
Octopus has been very fortunate. We've had a GoFundMe campaign. Customers have, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but have handed me some cash, and sometimes quite a bit. To a couple people who are a little well-to-do, and it makes you cry. There's just no other way to do that. So we're fortunate. I'm glad that Octopus is 8 years old and not 8 months old right now.
Right.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to businesses that have just been open a short time. So besides just the general support small, buy local thing, which is, not just during the pandemic, it's all the time. But the College Hill in Cedar Falls has treated my family very well. And I always like the Hill. Downtown always had all the money and the excitement, which made I like the underdog. The most diverse neighborhood in Cedar Valley is within 800 feet of Octopus, with the university there, and I enjoy the energy that comes from that. And I think a lot of times the neighborhood gets a little bit of a bad rap. If something bad happens, it tends to stick with us a little longer, whereas downtown has a Teflon coating and it just goes away. So it's something I'm jealous of. But I do think that neighborhoods like that are super important to making, local businesses in different neighborhoods that have a different vibe are just so important to what make a town livable and someplace that you want to stay. So I just encourage people to get out of their comfort zone a little bit and go to different places. And, Waterloo being a great example of that. What an explosion has gone over there on 4th Street.
It's amazing. It's
fantastic.
No lie, me and my friends we literally hang out downtown Waterloo. We don't even hang out. Generally speaking, we don't hang out in Cedar Falls at all unless we're perhaps at the Octopus at a show.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and there again, immigration, just a nice new, there's that great bakery over on 9th Street. I don't know if you guys ever go there. Some of the
Awesome
buns in the world. When we used to do pulled pork sandwiches, I would drive over there because they were so good. But, we need to see more growth than we've seen in the last 10 years, the last 15 years. We need, and it's going to be tough coming out of the pandemic, but we really, I do think there's an opportunity for things to be, in some cases, better than they were. And for instance, some of the small things we're going to try to do is, I mentioned that shows are $5 and 3 bands. I'd really like to see a show not be less than $10. It sounds small, but that's a major. It's been $5 for like 30 years.
right.
Come on, man. You can't even,
That and increase, like that and minimum wage have been the same price for the same amount of time.
Well, and Liberty, when we saw some of this surplus money come into young people's hands, it immediately impacted Mohair Pair, especially, and to a lesser degree, Octopus. The minimum wage, that's an excellent point. The minimum wage should absolutely be higher. And most of that money would go right back into local businesses because
Hell yeah, it would. If I had more money to spend, I'd damn well be spending it, I mean, it's just like it just makes sense. But like, for example, I remember when Blueprint came to the Octopus and it was a $7 show. And this fucking dude is incredible. I mean, he's incredible. To get to see him for $7, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this, And that was one of the shows that was like, I was there and there were, maybe 25, 30 people there. And I'm like, my mind was just blown that it wasn't just packed, It was like, what are you people doing tonight? And really, is it because it's $7 fucking dollars? $7? He signed my albums. Like,
yeah,
it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, you got to talk to, you probably talked to him if you wanted to.
I did talk to him. Yeah, I literally had like a long conversation with the man.
Well, and we talked about it earlier. It's more than the money. There's just something about music where people sometimes are reluctant to get involved. And there again, you could do 4-hour podcast on that. And I don't want to drag this on any longer than you guys want, but it's really.
I'll keep it going. It's something that I wonder about because I've been involved with music most of my whole life, and I feel like it's something that's definitely changing as far as people's appreciation for live music. Specifically, I think because of the way people are brought up in music, as far as I have an appreciation for it because I was playing instruments at a young age. I don't think that's going on as much now. I think more people are making music on their phones or laptops, and it's not there's no really emphasis or any importance that much on instrumentation. I think that's a big part of why people don't go to shows. If you don't appreciate it as far as from a stance as you used to do it or something you were involved in it somehow, you understand what they're doing and why it's hard, then you're not going to really, why not just watch it on YouTube,
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, I guess, and like how many kids are being enrolled in band and stuff like that. Like, are those numbers increasing or decreasing? But then, well, of course, your son Owen is very musically involved. You go to like even a Cedar Falls High School symphony concert, and it's mind blowing, that these kids are doing this stuff. And I don't know, maybe it's a financial thing too, with budgets being cut in schools. I think like a lot of times music programs really suffer.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know. I guess that's one little angle I could see it from.
I think that's all a part of it. We're defunding the education system. I know in Iowa, we certainly are not spending what we used to spend 20 years ago. And the things that go out the door first are extracurriculars like music and stuff like that. And there's plenty of money for sports. Nothing against sports, but it gets frustrating. I think this pause, the pandemic, is a chance to really. When I started out being in a band, you played shows, people paid cover, you had a record, you sold it. and he sold shirts. Well, I was just sharing this article that was in the New York Times a while back. I wish I could remember the name of the rapper, but he put his album out on all the streaming services, and then he sold 1,500 copies of that for $77 a piece.
Wow.
And the new way that you have to market yourself, and I'm not saying we can all charge $77 for an album, but the old idea I grew up with is gone. The performance, the music has become more similar to a t-shirt, and that hurts, but in a way it's just a transition. And I am continually trying to wrap my head around the new system to market and to figure out could more shows be free and I get money somewhere other way? I don't know. But I do know that the system, that the very cut and dried old school thing that I grew up with has now been shifted and cut up and diced, and it's not that simple anymore. You give the music away free, but then you have this deluxe album that you're selling for $35 or $40. You know what I'm saying? Is that the way to go?
Right.
Well, I think it was Nipsey Hussle who you're talking about. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, Nipsey's in there, and then the actual artist, I can't remember his name, but it's that same crew, that same group of people.
Oh, okay.
It's a fascinating article.
Well, and there's so many people that are diehard fans of certain bands and stuff like that, and I will always do the pre-order for their album when it's coming out. And usually when you do, you buy a pre-order, they usually send you some stickers for free, or there's your album is especially, has a different design than the album that's going to come out that is going to be sold in regular retail stores and stuff like that. And I think that, that's brilliant. You should, people will invest in you if it's something that they care about, And the coolest thing about the Octopus is every penny of the cover goes to the musicians. It's not like you guys are making money off of it. That's going to the artists, and that's something that I think needs to be mentioned.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a bunch of old dogs are going to have to learn new tricks because the old system simply is not working well enough, and it's probably unrealistic. But I really want to, like I said, I'm 57. I was having a beer with a friend, and I said, right now there's not one show going on in this country, and that has never happened since music has been around. In this country, let's say safely since World War II. It's right, and it's a historic time to be alive, and this is just another piece of the pie that's going to reinforce us as business people and as people who live in a town like Cedar Falls, or larger or smaller. If you want to be in the arts, whether it be stand-up comedy or musician or whatever, you're going to have to just really rethink your approach. Because the old system just is too flat-footed. It doesn't take into account all these different delivery methods, and that how music itself has become worth less, but other aspects of it have become worth more.
Yeah, and I think comedians have been pretty good with this for a while. I think comedians kind of saw the digital revolution coming and took full advantage of it. Early days of YouTube, you have all these web series from people who are now really popular comedians. And, I see people like Alex Conyers and, Dave Peace that we mentioned, and all these other people that we've had on who, are using the digital platform very much to their advantage. And I really, really hope that, other artists are also able to take full advantage of that.
Also, let's just mention it. It's actually Alex Conyers' birthday today. So happy birthday,
as we're
Alex.
recording it, not the day that this comes out, but yes, friend of the show, Alex Conyers. Happy
birthday, buddy.
What was it, 37?
Yep.
No, he's 34.
34, sorry.
43.
Yeah.
Ouch.
He was, he was all sad about not being able to have a party or whatever. But we're partying right now on the Fancy
Yeah.
Werewolf Lounge in your honor. Happy birthday, Alex.
I
Sorry,
can't raise
know.
mine because
I'm such a sentimental bitch. I know. Sorry, guys.
yes, you are half of that statement. Dave, do you want to go through all the things you want to plug, the businesses, and how you, even if how people can help and anything else?
Yeah, it's a short list. And plug is one word, but I basically want to say thank you. Mohair Pair, which is the retail end of our businesses, they're again a very loyal customer base that's treated us wonderfully for 25 years. So, and really, without a place like our bar, Octopus wouldn't have been possible. And then Octopus customers have also been very loyal, and so I'm in a fortunate position of being very appreciative right now. And obviously I'm concerned about the next 6 months, because especially going into winter, which is traditional anyway. But I feel that for us, it's gone as well as it could, reasonably. So, and I know that from talking to some of my other friends, especially if you rent right now, it's tough as a business, and they after 5-6 months owe 12, 20, 30,000 bucks. How do you come back from that? I don't know. So, those are our two things. And then on a smaller note, my partner Ralph and I have a little record label called Octopus Records, which is small, like lathe cut runs, like as few as 10 copies, up to like 50. Because we're finding that, when you get a record pressed from a larger pressing place, it's like 250 copies, which doesn't sound like a lot. But then when they're
shit ton
for 2 years,
Well, when I produce my comedy album, I will have it done through Octopus Records, and this is on the record. So
get at us. But that's
heard it.
And buying the equipment, which isn't cheap, but that's a something that a lot of times in Cedar Falls and in Iowa, a band, or I'm guessing even comedians, come and go without leaving much behind. There's not magazines to talk about them. There's not shows, but there is a show. The same way Octopus Radio is trying to be a show that talks about bands and sends out in the universe, and you're doing that too, which is fantastic. But that's one of the reasons we want to make records. Like there'll be a physical, hey, I was here, and
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And also want to mention your House of Large Sizes. I have your guys's live album, which is very good. I can't think of the name off the top of my head.
Idiots Out Wandering Around.
Idiots Out Wandering Around, right?
Oh no shit!
Not an Iowa reference at all.
But it's but along with being just a really good, really great album, the artwork in it is good, and you did the thing where the album is colored like orange and yellow, and also the Octopus live album. Which features a lot of really great bands from the area who performed in Octopus a lot. So if you, and I would say definitely
They're
if you
unnoticed stars that should
Yes.
be nationally reclaimed artists.
yes,
That's my
and
personal opinion.
if you want a good list of people from the area, you want to smaller artists that you want to support, I would definitely suggest getting the Octopus album and just look all those artists up on their own stuff. So
Yeah, and this is just a straight up plug, but all that stuff's available at Mohair Pair's website, which is mohairpairshop.com.
Heck
So
yeah.
Octopus shirts and the records, and there again, the Octopus comp, which turned out better than we had any right for it to turn out, is wanting to leave something behind of this bands and of the time, like a actual physical artifact.
Yeah, do you have like future plans to do it like every few years or every year, or what's your idea with that? Because I think it's just such an incredible idea.
I think we'll do it. There again, the pandemic kind of pushed everything back, but yeah, we'd like to do another one. I don't think there's any amount of time, but when we have another, and it's crazy when you think about that. There's 11 bands on that record, and 8 of them are from Cedar Falls. So that just tells you the depth of the music scene here. And
Yeah, people don't understand or appreciate that. Like when I'm just thinking about it, and I think about so many of these people aren't just musicians, but like they're my friends. You know what I mean? And fuck if people don't know about Cedar Falls, they're missing out. And Waterloo also. There's so much talent here. It's really incredible and a gift, like you said, that I'm thankful for, just to know these people and be involved in any way, shape, or form. So maybe someday people will know what's really going on here, because it is a really cool thing. And I am personally just so grateful for you and Octopus as a business and what it does for all of us, because it literally is like, it is home away from home, you know?
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think one of the things, and I think we're probably about wrapping up. Is that true, Joshua?
Yeah, I mean, we're going through the wrap up right now, but you know.
But I just, I don't know if there'll ever be an international star like Prince coming out of Iowa. But what we do need to enjoy is the actual ride of
Hell yeah.
a small bar, going to a venue, seeing a band, whether they're big or not. If they're big in your world, that's all that matters. And the fun of hanging out with friends and being based around live music and in a small club, that's enough reward. And I'm not saying you shouldn't aspire to larger career goals, but I'm just saying there's a ton of stuff to be enjoyed, whether it be a small bar or a small local restaurant or cafe. And that's more realistically the kind of future I want in Iowa, which you go out on a Saturday night and you actually have to ask yourself, where am I going? Because
right.
a lot of times there's not enough choices to even ask that question, but now there is, and hopefully there will be again when we come out of the pandemic.
Right. Well, Dave, thank you so much for being on. It's been a blast having you. Liberty, Allo, anything you guys want to plug quick before we take off?
I'm on a bias show, comedy kickback, crew love or something like that. It's at Teehee's next Saturday.
Okay,
So
Teehee's next Saturday.
Yeah, and I'll be at open mics, probably in Dubuque and Teehee's. Shout out to the open mics.
All right,
yeah.
go see Allo at those Teehee's.
Support the comedy bar and Teehee's for sure. They need your help too. Like we need, for sure.
Yep. And as for the show, we're on Stitcher now, which is another way you can listen to us. If you're you can also check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and again, get some merch. Very cool stuff. Again, that's teesprings.com/shops, plural shops /Fancy Werewolf Lounge. So again, Dave, thank you for being on.
Yeah, I just want to great talking to you, Al, Liberty, and Joshua. Thanks for taking the time and thanks for thinking of us. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
We love you. We love the Octopus, for real.
All right. And Allo, Liberty, say goodbye.
Okay. See you guys later. Thanks so much for listening, and tell your friends about us.
And I'm Josh for the Fancy Werewolf Lounge, saying you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Good.